Okay, well let's go ahead and get started. I think we have most folks here. And let me know if you can't hear. Can somebody from ICAT just scream that you can hear and that you can see uh, my shared screen?
Looks great.
Cool. Okay. All right. So today, thank you all for attending. I'm Ben Knapp. I'm the director of the Institute for Creativity, Arts, and Technology. We started doing this talk about sometime right during COVID. And it brings back good and bad memories of that, going through this again, because it's weird. One of the things that I'll mention at the end is that we have a play date every single Friday during the semester while classes are going on. And it's nice because the speakers, including me, are right there with everybody. It's a chance to meet really cool people, and it gets us away from doing these Zoom lectures, which are terrible, or at least I have, as I said, sort of good and bad memories of these. So anyway, let me go ahead and get started. And we're going to be sort of moving back and forth between the writing of a SEAD grant and some examples of SEAD grants that are so good that we have funded. So let me get started. Uh, the first thing is that, yes, you must be transdisciplinary. And we have gotten many, many, many examples over the years of proposals that are not transdisciplinary. So when you submit your proposal, we're looking for faculty and hopefully some students from multiple colleges, certainly multiple schools or departments. But if it's within one college, it really needs to be something that actually requires very disparate disciplines. So not both country and Western, not both wired and wireless circuits. We need something that really, really is truly multidisciplinary, because the reason that ICAT exists is to help the faculty that are attending this Zoom. It's to help you do things that are hard. Not that doing research in itself isn't hard enough, but it's really hard to do something across colleges and transdisciplinary, meeting new faculty and trying to figure out how to get a project going. And that's the reason why ICAT exists at Virginia Tech, and one of the only places like it in the country, is to help you, support you to do the work that you would like to do across disciplines in colleges. So if it's simply work in your discipline, I would highly recommend you go to your associate for dean for research and see what options are there for you. ICAT is really an option when you're trying to go beyond your school or department. So that's what's not. So sorry, can you mute Rodney? Okay, good. So, oops, let me go back. Let me see if this video didn't hold true. Oh, that's too bad. It's one of my favorite videos. So unfortunately, this is just a screenshot of it. But what this video is of is a project between a professor in the School of Performing Arts in cinema, Justin Perkinson, and a professor over in ICTAS, whose area is in biology. And they were studying larger projects, studying underwater creatures. And one of the questions that was asked during a play date, and this was a play date during COVID, so you can see the Zoom screen, it was asked of them, and it's Phyllis there, because she usually asks this question, which is, what's it like to work with somebody outside your discipline? And it was such a wonderful answer that I grabbed it and recorded it. Well, and unfortunately you can't hear it, but what was said was basically, oh, we actually don't know where our discipline begins and where the other person's discipline ends. Justin said that Matt basically learned as much about cinematography, and became almost had that at least had that point of view that Justin had as a cinematographer. And Matt said the same thing about Justin, that he learned the science, the biology, to be able to converse with Matt and to really innovate with Matt. And that's what we're looking for. Is we're looking for innovation that happens at the merger between multiple disciplines. And that's what we're really trying to catalyze here at Virginia Tech. So it's intended to support projects that are innovative, that are transdisciplinary, and that are hopefully risky and creative. Again, this is an internal grant, hopefully getting that you could, after receiving this grant and working on it for a while, that you'll be able to submit a proposal to either a foundation, especially if you're an artist or designer, submitting to external foundations or corporations. If you're in engineering and science, submitting it to, National Institutes of Health or National Science Foundation. So we're hoping that this catalyzes and helps you to look for larger things, and obviously performances and events across the nation or even across the world. Wonderfully, one of the projects that we seeded actually was performed just recently in Europe, and we've had a lot of projects that have been performed overseas. So that's what we're really looking for. And finally, we're really looking for projects that contribute to the goals of ICAT. And here are the broad themes of ICAT. I won't go through them in particular. We certainly have a large future of work initiative going on right now. Reimagining education within ICAT. We have a Center for Educational Networks and Impacts, and highly, recommend talking with them if you're wanting to reimagine, redesign either things at the course or curriculum level, or even at the university level. Bridging physical distance, obviously, right now, that's what we're doing, and that's been a big topic going on for the past several years, et cetera. So we take a look at those and see how what your work does fits in with that. If you, again, the theme of today, if you have any questions, please contact me or anybody at ICAT. Some of the benefits for SEAD grant funding, you will be getting money. That's the big piece of getting a SEAD grant, but you also have access to some amazing specialists at ICAT that can partner with you to help create things in our studios. We have a preeminent space known as the Cube that hopefully most of you have had a chance to see. If you haven't, let me know and we can take you around the Cube. It's a 150 speaker, 24 motion capture cameras, an amazing 3-wall projection system in there that you can take advantage of, especially either if you're doing immersive experiences, AR, VR, XR, or if you're just trying to create something for an audience that's immersive. Simulation and training is a big thing that we can do in the Cube, all those kind of things. And we have other studios that you could just go to our website, just icat.vt.edu website, and you can learn about all of our facilities and see how you could use those to amplify your research. Types of SEAD grants we have. I'm going to be talking a lot today about the major SEAD grant, which is up to $25,000. It's going to be due in just a few weeks on February 4th. It's for faculty. It's led by faculty, and again, putting together teams across schools, across colleges. We also have once a semester a mini SEAD grant, and that's sort of to prepare you to prepare to do maybe a major SEAD grant, or if you're trying to set up something that's a one-off that you need quick funds for, we have the mini SEAD grant, and that proposal's due coming up quite quickly. Once a year in the fall, and this is just to tell your colleagues and plant in your calendar, we also have a collaboration with one of the largest investment institutes on partnering with historically Black communities and universities, colleges and universities. And there, what we do is we fund you for 2 years. It's a 2-year grant, up to $20,000 per year, if you set up a collaboration with an HBCU. And from that, that's been a highly successful program, some amazing projects. This year, we have a project going on in Africa, teaching local communities, and we're not even really teaching, working with local communities to create new recipes using ingredients that are sustainable. And rather than going to these communities and saying, you must use this kind of crop to be sustainable, instead, it's saying, oh, let's be creative. Let's create new recipes together. And from that, those recipes will use those kind of crops. We have another project that's looking at the coral reefs in the Virgin Islands. The University of the Virgin Islands is an HBCU. And it's basically trying to reveal what's happening to the coral reefs, to the communities in the Virgin Islands. We have I mentioned just briefly before, we have a center, the Center for Educational Networks and Impacts. They have a once a month grant. Again, what I would do is go to our website, look up CENI and send them an email. Phyllis Newell is on the Zoom right now, and I think Lisa McNair is as well. Oh, and I see Jake as well. So we have Seni on the Zoom. So if you have any questions, I should be done in plenty of time to ask lots of questions. So they're on the Zoom right now. If you've got any questions on the educational seed grant, just shout them out. We also have once a year in the fall student seed grants for collaborative grants across the colleges for students of up to $1,000. And it's in the fall. So again, this is just sort of put a flag on your calendar. Also tell your colleagues and mainly your students that are juniors this year, seniors that are not necessarily graduating, tell them about this because we've had some absolutely amazing projects through that. And just like all of you, it's very, very difficult for students to team up across colleges. And this is an opportunity to get support to do that. The major seed grant call this year, we always, every year, have an open call, meaning whatever you can think of. As long as it's multidisciplinary, we would like it to have some component of creative process in there through arts and design, with some creative aspect to the work. But it's really, the topics are entirely up to you. It's a completely open call. You can certainly ask, but in just a few minutes, as I mentioned, I will give you some examples of projects that we funded this past year. So it gives you a good idea of the depth and breadth of the kind of projects that we fund. We also have several really interesting specific calls this year. And again, please tell your colleagues about these as well, because these are just for this year. Every year we have some particular calls that are supported by those outside of ICAT in combination with ICAT. This one is really a project looking at the entire innovation life cycle, starting from design all the way through to realization and commercialization. This is a project that's funded by ICAT, the College of Architecture, Arts and Design, and the Pamplin College of Business. So we're really looking for that entrepreneurial project that really, you're in early days, you're in early ideation, but you want to develop something that's very applied that could go all the way through to commercialization. And that commercialization can be both in the engineering and science domain, technology domain, but it can also be in humanities or in the arts and design. It can be a product or a service or an installation kind of work that's just scalable, that could be hopefully eventually, not at the end of this project, but eventually beyond the edges of the project, become some sort of commercial endeavor of some kind. So that's pretty exciting. We also have another exciting project that's joint between the Carilion School of Medicine and the Carilion Clinic, as well as ICAT, and it's specifically looking at human-centered technology design for healthcare. It's a very large project. It's up to $40,000, and we're specifically looking at how to optimize the work of healthcare professionals. One of the biggest issues in healthcare is worker burnout, and that means nurse burnout. That means physician burnout. They're, believe it or not, leaving in mass amounts. A lot of retirements going on, and we're trying to figure out how to make their lives better, as well as, of course, the lives better for their patients because of that. So you can see some categories in there that we're specifically looking for. We're developing simulation and training. As I mentioned earlier, we have you can work out simulation and training in the Cube. We have other studios for you to outfit and work in to develop ways of helping caregivers deliver care. And so we're particularly interested in simulated environments and how they can be used. The federal government is particularly interested in that, as well as healthcare providers themselves. And so we're looking for very, very creative projects to bring these things together, and really would love to see some good applications in this. Again, please let me know if you have any questions. Certainly ask at the end here or send me an email. And then the final one is a really cool project that I don't know how many of you have had a chance to go to the Taubman Museum of Art in Roanoke, but it is our regional museum of art, and they're having a 75th anniversary coming up, and so they're partnering with ICAD, and their 75th anniversary is in 2026. So these projects would start, all of these projects, when you submit a seed grant, start in July of 2025. So July of 2024. So it would be completed in the end of June in 2025, ready for actually then going out be ready to deploy in 2026. So again, very, very exciting for a project to do in the region. Question of what are they looking for? They're looking for any creative things they can get from Virginia Tech faculty and your students. So again, if any questions on this, please feel free to ask me at the end. We can come back to that. Funding is available for all faculty at Virginia Tech. It will be available not in 2024. It'll be actually available in July of 2025. So all of these projects you're going to submit this semester, get reviewed, and we'll go through that in a moment this semester, and the funds will be available in July of 2025. And hopefully you will spend all your funds. We don't, for major seed grants, we just don't fund travel, a project that's simply travel. If travel is a small component to it, we can look into that. But we really mostly want to fund yourselves, summer salary, student wage or student salary, equipment that you might need. Those are the kind of things we're really looking forward to funding. Last year, we funded $167,000 worth of seed grants, 8 majors, 4 minis, and 4 student seed grants. We had 89 faculty and students from 23 departments and 8 colleges. So you can see the transdisciplinarity that we're really, really looking for in these grants. So I promised earlier that I would give you just a quick fly through of some of the grants that we've funded recently, just to kind of give you an idea of what we consider to be interesting and good topic areas and the faculty that are involved in them. This is a project looking at using AR, VR for ways to explore ancient architectures. And you can see School of Design, School of Ed, School of Visual Arts, and the library. So you've got 2 colleges, the library, and 3 different schools in it. We have COVID comics that are looking at taking new ways of really understanding information. And this is really cool, and it's going to be in the Cube. And again, you see English, visual arts, computer science from engineering, English, and one of the questions that's always asked is, can you involve other universities or other members of the community? And the answer is yes, you can. We have a seed grant called Memory Palace, looking at performance and memory of performance and how that works. And we have faculty from several schools in this, as well as political science in the College of Science. We have a project called Carving Out Creativity that's looking at sculpting, but how to connect sculpting across distance. What does that mean? And how do we also understand what's happening with the brain while we're sculpting? And can we use that to, in some aesthetic way, connect sculptors across distance? Really neat project, and hopefully we'll be involved with the opening of the Innovation Campus, connecting the Innovation Campus to the Cube here in Blacksburg to really show how creativity can happen across distance. We've got electrical and computer engineering, engineering education, School of Visual Arts, HNFE. And one of the things I'd like to point out with this is, remember I mentioned earlier that there are folks at ICAT that are incredibly skilled at using the facilities, creating with the facilities of ICAT, helping you out And so they can be part of your project. And no, it doesn't affect, if you include ICAP people, it doesn't affect whether your project's going to get accepted or not. But they're here to really help you be successful in your work. We have a neat seed grant that's actually in its second years, looking at gaming at Virginia Tech, but looking at gaming from the point of view of the community that interacts with gaming, what kinds of communities interact with gaming, what kind of communities do not, and what kind of experiences do they have. Faculty from English, visual arts, engineering, computer science, as you can imagine. We have a project that basically takes leftover materials from food and transforms that into paints, which is a really cool idea. School of Design, as well as folks from CNRE, Sustainable Biomaterials, Visual Arts. Project that's, again, looking at brainwaves and human performance, collaboration between folks in design, again, sustainable biomaterials, and visual arts. We have mini SEAD grants, as I mentioned, that you are always welcome to submit to. The deadline's coming up shortly. Here are some examples that I won't go through each one of them, but you will see the bottom right, as I mentioned, we have a major SEAD grant this semester looking for innovation in healthcare. And you can see we had a mini SEAD grant this past year on looking at emergency room wait time, which is really, really interesting. We have a SEAD grant looking at opening the gates for people with physical disabilities, specifically looking at music, and again, several other really, really terrific projects. And then, as I mentioned, finally, we have student SEAD grants. And here are some of the projects and how they connect students across Virginia Tech. You have crazy projects like, we saw Hokey Bird animatronic and we said, oh, we've got to do that. That just sounds incredible. So folks from engineering and, just across the university. So School of Architecture, et cetera. So it should be a really fun project. And you can see some of these projects on display in the springtime. Virginia Tech and ICAT, we host a Open at the Source here in the Moss Art Center, and you'll get to see some of these projects showcased there. Here are some other projects that actually will be showcased in there. So let's, I promised to come full circle back to what are good and bad projects and what are we looking for, and some of the review criteria, intellectual merit and innovation. One of the keys to doing a really good proposal is giving us context for your proposal. What are you doing that's different, unique, maybe not unique, but unusual, maybe challenging the edges of something, whatever that something is. So that's one of the key elements that we're going to be reviewing for is that. Obviously, I've mentioned over and over again about the transdisciplinary nature of the team and the mission of ICAT. We need clear outcomes and deliverables with a very clear timeline. As I've already mentioned, a potential for leading to future work. And the key is, as a research-intensive university, what's the potential for national impact? And that's not just simply grants or papers. That, as I've mentioned before, that can be performances, installations, media coverage, really making a difference across the country. Some of the clearly common issues associated with that is not defining what the outcomes are, poorly written, not transdisciplinary, or, one of the big problems is scope and budget. We get a lot of projects coming in that really are several year projects. This is a SEAD grant. You can look in the parlance of the NIH or NSF or other federal agencies, you could consider it a planning grant. It's how to do initial work to get things going, to do something at a national scale. So it should be able to be done and accomplished in a year, which is not much time, especially when all of you are teaching during the school year. It's hard to get things done. Again, as I mentioned, a lot of times budget is used for summer salary to really help you support and do the projects in the summer, as well as a student salary as well. People always ask how long. It's 5 pages, but what we're looking for are these criteria and really trying to fit that in there and give us the wow factor of, oh my God, we have projects like that every semester where I look at it and go, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. That is an amazing idea. Don't know whether it'll be successful or not, but it's an amazing idea. Obviously, our reviewers are what are called senior fellows at ICAT. ICAT is a collection of volunteer faculty from across the university that help run and help inform me and give me ideas for ICAT, and they also review your proposals. But each one of them, only one of them will probably be in your area. So the rest of them are not going to be familiar with the kind of work. And this is, you've probably heard this said a million times, because whether you're writing for them or a foundation or whether a federal agency, not everybody in the room is going to be in your discipline. Short titles are better than long titles. Um, write as if it is a proposal for an external funder. Take this seriously, because hopefully it will become a proposal. And that's the neat thing about a SEAD grant. You'll write this proposal, you work on it for a year. Now you have something that you can send to a funder or funding agency right away without having to start from scratch. You've got lots of interesting data or performance work or installation work, and you've got those things available, ready to go. Make sure your team is multidisciplinary. If you have any questions, especially if you want to see collaborators, find collaborators, I highly recommend you come to the play dates every Friday at 8:30. I'll mention those again at the end. Have a very clear budget and timeline. You just go to our website. There's a funding pull down there that you can just go to the funding page, and there'll be a Google form for you to submit. And you'll be submitting, answering lots of questions about your team, and as well as submitting the PDF of your proposal to us. Dates for 2024, the proposals are due February 4th, and that's at the end of the day at 5 o'clock. One of the things that my students always hate about me is that I do not extend deadlines, because there are amazing faculty that will work all night to get something in on time. And you've heard this before, you probably say it to your students. It's just not fair to everybody else. So the awards will be announced in March, and your funds, as I mentioned earlier, will be available in July for the coming year.
I'll be there.
Somebody's not muted. And the reports, when you do the projects, you will be expected to submit midterm and final reports, and you'll be doing a pecha, which is a 3-minute, anybody can do a 3-minute presentation. You'll be doing a 3-minute presentation on your projects in February. So basically a year from now, if you're funded, halfway through your project, you'll present a short 3-minute presentation. It allows all of you to see everybody else's projects and see what amazing things are happening. And then we'll have final presentations in August. One of the key things at ICAT is to really document your work. And this is more and more important as you apply for funders outside of here, but it's critical for ICAT. The funds that we give to you are because the university deems what you do to be important. And we need you to give us the videos and photos of your work so we can make the case for getting more funding to help you do your projects. We never, ever, ever take credit for your work. Matter of fact, my role at Virginia Tech is to brag on the faculty and say how amazing all of you are and what incredible projects you're doing. So, that's the key, is really getting the word out. We push out social media. We create stories in VT News. I'm sure you've seen many stories that we pushed out. I know Rodney and Dylan are on the call right now, are on the Zoom right now, and they're there to help you get your information out, but we need to start with your documentation. Please acknowledge ICAT, of course, in all of your publications workshops for that reason. But this next year, instead of just being all mean and nasty and saying how we want you to do that and you're bad if you don't, we've instituted a new program, which is going to be we will have the Best Project Award in 2025. In addition to getting an amazing, amazing award suitable for framing, you will also get funding for a second year to continue on with your project. And this is the first time we're doing this to really, it will be, as I said, it'll be based on your reporting and your documentation. We really want to emphasize good projects, help great projects move farther forward. And so we will be doing that this year. I mentioned throughout the talk today about playdates. Please, please, please come to playdates. It's a great way to meet all of the folks from ICAT that are on the Zoom here that help you do your work and do it well. And they'll be there at the playdates. I'll be at the playdates, but also many of your colleagues will be at the playdates. Senior fellows from ICAT will be there often during the playdates, and you'll also get to really learn a lot of interesting things about the transdisciplinary research that's happening at Virginia Tech. The first one up is, of course, next Friday, and it's going to be on AI and its relationship with VR, XR, and how to create in those domains. So it should be a really, really interesting talk. 8:30, we have coffee and donuts. 9 o'clock, the talks are only 15 minutes, 9 to 9:15. You're also welcome to watch them. We stream them live on YouTube, so you can watch them and you can watch them even later. They're recorded on YouTube. So that's basically everything. That's our funding link. We look forward to receiving your proposals. And that now I'd really love to open it for discussion and questions. If we can get a discussion going, that would be terrific. So who's going to be brave enough to be the first one to ask a question?
I have a question.
Sure, Eileen.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It's very helpful. Uh, I was wondering if the deadline, February 4, is also for the student seed grants, and what about the deadline for the Taubman Art grant? Is that the same?
So very good question. So February 4th is the deadline for all of the faculty seed grants, and the Taubman is one of them. So if you go to our funding webpage and you look under major seed grants, the Taubman one, the one in health, all of those will be listed there, including the open call. For your question regarding student seed grants, we only do that once a year, and that's only in the fall. It allows students then to have the arc of the year to really work on their project. It's really hard. We used to do it once a semester. It's really hard to cram a student project into one semester with all that's going on. So we changed that and really made it a full semester. And then the mini faculty seed grants are coming up shortly for this semester.
Thank you.
I don't know if anybody from SENI would like to just talk a little bit about your work with seed grants and the work that you do for the events that you put on, the science festival or the ICAT day or any of those things.
Sure, I can talk about that a little bit. Hi, I'm Phyllis Newbill. SENI does put on a couple of big events during the year. The Virginia Tech Science Festival is one of those, happens in the fall. And then ICAT Day is in the spring. We're also hosting 5th grade field trips regularly. So there are a number of options. All of these are events where people set up a table and talk to the public or talk to kids, one or the other, or kids in the public, maybe both, about what they're doing. It's a great way to kind of hone your communication skills and also kind of share what you're doing with a broader audience. If you've got questions about that, any of those, please let me know. I'm happy to help you. And we can also provide some coaching and guidance on kind of what is ideal for those venues.
Thanks, Phyllis. Other questions?
I have another question. No one has one. So if I'm trying to do my dissertation project that I think could maybe be a good fit for the Taubman project, but I cannot be the author, right? I would need to talk to faculty and see if they want to have this project as their own. Okay.
Yes, yes. So, and I can certainly help you with that. Folks from faculty can help you if you're not already working with faculty. But I can already think of several faculty that would be interested in working in your area and partnering with you on the project. So, certainly can help you with that.
Thank you so much.
And with the Taubman, it's, you know, it's a very specific timeline, as I mentioned, because it's their 75th anniversary. So it's really has to get started this July in order to really meet the time frame for when the 75th celebration will happen in 2026.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, thank you for attending. I really appreciate it. Please let your colleagues know we've recorded this. So we're going to put this up on our website, so you'll have access to this, or your colleagues will have access to it as well. And I just wish you all a really, really good spring semester. Hopefully we don't have Snowmageddon next Monday, so the semester will start okay. And we'll see you at a play date, I'm sure. Thank you.